Hello, I'm Bliznub, and welcome to Building the Best. Today we're going to be looking at the Supra, which is yet another weapon which is terrifying when held by the enemy and a little bit pathetic when held by you. But let's try and change that. Now the Supra is of course from the Corpus labs, or the energy labs in the dojo, and it is absolutely terrifying when held by Corpus techs, but when you look at its actual base stats you sort of go, why is it terrifying? And honestly, it's not obvious. However, this is the best machine gun type weapon in the game, if you exclude the Soma, which I'm going to, because personally I think it's more of an assault rifle. So I'm going with it. This is the best machine gun type weapon in the game, easily beating the various Gorgons which are available, and quite frankly, I think it's fantastic as a machine gun. I personally don't like machine guns, but that should not hold this weapon back from its true role of the bullet hose to end all bullet hoses. Now, of course, with this, I decided, I've got to play to its strengths, and I'm not really a machine gun kind of guy, but I just got to get in the zone for that, and so I went for this absolutely shameless build, where I basically just crammed as much damage as I could on the thing, and then threw a shred in for good measure. And it works remarkably well. So, ignore the incredible inaccuracy we get from heavy caliber, because it is a spool-up weapon, so if so basically you can tap fire it if you want it to be relatively speaking accurate, or you can hold down the trigger if you want to spray everything in a cone of fire with 16 rounds per second. With a ridiculously large magazine size, I should add. Now, I have to explain very quickly, Entropy Burst, easily the most valuable mod on here, adds 20 to the base status chance, and of course the Entropy Syndicate Bomb, which restores your energy and deals magnetic damage to those around you. This does not scale, unfortunately, with status chance mods, but does scale, oddly enough, with Split Chamber. So this bumped our status chance from 5% up to 42%, making this a very viable status cannon, but at the same time, that's as high as we can get it. As you can see, the status chance mods are only going to add 4% to this. At very best, I could get maybe 70% status chance if I really tried, but I don't feel it's worth it. However, 42% on a weapon that's pumping out 16 rounds per second is definitely worth building off of, so I did put Continuous Misery on here for the status duration, and decided to build the elemental damage into Radiation, because quite frankly, Radiation procs are hilarious. Anyhow, it's a very expensive build, and like I say, machine guns aren't my forte, so this might not be perfect, but I do think it's up there. I do think this build is very, very fun to run, because we're getting about 1,000 damage, dealing incredible amounts of DPS, and radiation procs for days. So let's test this thing out, and I will show you just why exactly. Whilst I don't particularly enjoy machine guns, I found this one hilarious to run. So we're going to go up against Grenier, because obviously radiation is good against them. Unfortunately, the sortie today was not exactly appropriate for testing this weapon, but feel free, feel free to try this thing against level 100s. I have been taking this to the sortie for the last week to test it out, and it is really good. As you can see, it is shredding things. Absolutely shredding them. Punching through surfaces, getting multiple enemies with each shot, just tearing them apart. And the radiation procs are incredibly useful, of course, because if you can't actually kill something, everything else will try to. And that, quite frankly, is funny, although I'm not going to let that bombard start firing shots everywhere because, well, I mean, we all know what happens when a bombard starts firing things everywhere. So, did that blunt just protect him from shred? Do I really not have enough punch through to go through a blunt? Well, that's just disappointing. Anyhow, I'd still say his shred is probably better than Metal Auger, simply for the bonus fire rate you get out of it on a balanced build. But this thing truly does tear Grenier apart. And it's pretty good against Corpus too, because, I mean, the one reason you prefer something for Grenier against Corpus is nullifiers. In a word, nullifiers. The bubbles make things that are single shot very weak against Corpus, and quite frankly, This thing's a goddamn machine gun. This thing is a bullet hose. It will take out a nullifier in no seconds flat. Yeah, that made sense in my head. And yeah, this thing truly just tears enemies apart. And I was so surprised by it, I started enjoying it. I was like, I don't enjoy machine guns. What is this? I hated the Gorgon. What? Oh god. No, stop that. Silly Grenier. I'm not allowed to shoot back. That's just rude. So anyhow. Alright, going to my checklist. Talked about the weapon, status chance, hate machine gun. I think I've talked about everything. So that's it. I mean, to be honest, if for no other reason than to put pink bullets on this, yes, I did that intentionally, of my own accord. I was not forced to by anyone, I just thought it was hilarious. I mean, this weapon is so worth it just to be spraying pink bullets absolutely everywhere. Oh well, purple. A masculine shade of purple in this case, obviously. But it is a fantastic status cannon. And even if you can't kill enemies, you can definitely irradiate them enough that everything around them most certainly will. Although the one thing I will say is if we take this wall, for instance, you can see the accuracy at range is pretty atrocious, but we can just tap fire to get fairly accurate rounds on something if we need to. So anyhow, I guess that's all I have to say about this thing. I mean, it's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And quite frankly, I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. Like I say, I took this thing to a sortie for a whole week. I even tried to take it to the bow-only sortie, but my squad mates kept complaining. Something about not being able to go into mission. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching. As always, please like and comment below and subscribe if you want to see more. I'm Bliznub, and this is, of course, the Supra.